Well, good evening, everyone. I'm opening the meeting of the Bristol Township Planning Commission. I'm going to kindly ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And if there are any veterans in the room, you know you're allowed to salute the colors uncovered. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'm going to ask you to remain standing, to keep in mind our troops that are in harm's way, our prisoners of war, our killed in action, our missing in action, for all those suffering from these terrible wars, tragedies, and disasters, for the children who were separated from their parents, for any personal intentions you may have. Thank you very much. And I would like to welcome all in attendance and our viewing audience. Our agenda has a few items on it. The first we'll start with is the consideration of the June 3rd, 2025 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Commissioners, you've had copies of those minutes. You've had an opportunity to review them. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Commissioners. The second item on our agenda is the consideration to recommend the council designate the following residential properties as blighted. Instead of reading them here, I will turn this over to Bo. If you want to explain these properties, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Tonight
evening.
we will be presenting 3 homes. Just a quick update. As always, we started in 2015 with 204 homes on it. Today, we are down to 21 homes. Within those 21 homes, 3 of those belong to the redevelopment authority and or going out to bid right now. We also have 4 homes that are under agreement with the township that have deadlines that they need to meet. So honestly, you could probably reduce that number around 7 or 8 homes. Starting off on the first home, we have 848 Harrison Street. Let's see if this works. We stickered this property in June of this year. We received a complaint from our police department. Some neighbor grabbed an officer at a parade and gave inside information that this individual was living in this home without any utilities. We went to the property. There was 2 individuals living in an RV in the driveway. There was also an individual living in the home with no utilities whatsoever. We went there. We actually served a search warrant with the police department. We boarded the property up. We have liens on the home right now, currently around $5,400, and we also have delinquent taxes for 23 and 24. This home is uninhabitable as we speak.
Did you say it's uninhabitable?
Yes, sir. Next property we have is 84 Ice Pond Road. 84 Ice Pond Road was stickered in December of last year, so approximately 8 months ago. This property was in a fire, and since that time frame, nothing has been done with this property. I was in contact with an owner, I was in contact with an architect, and I was in contact with a contractor. I have been getting the runaround from the architect and contractor for approximately the last 5 months. Permits were supposed to be turned in almost every other Friday. I have still yet to have anything turned in at this time. The owner's voicemail is full, and I'm not allowed to leave any voicemails. So therefore, I haven't contacted her in a couple months now. Home is uninhabitable, and we have no delinquent taxes or liens on the home at this time, but yes, home is uninhabitable as well. Last property we have,
I'm sorry, so somebody's paying the taxes on that?
yes. Last property we have is 68 Indian Red Road. This property was stickered in June last month as well. Same situation as the 848 Harrison. This property, we got a tip from our fire marshal. Fire marshal responded to a call. Individuals went inside. The owner cut all wires to anything that was running anywhere in the house. He believes that people were listening to him, so therefore he cut all the wires to his house. The home was uninhabitable. The panel was rigged up, and you'll be able to see it in the second slide, by a shoe rack. We served a search warrant. We boarded this property up. There is liens on this home. I have been in contact with the father. The son, to knowledge, talked to the father 2 days ago. He is right now in Monco, locked up. But I've explained the situation to the father. The father knows what is happening. Home is uninhabitable at this time frame.
So what does that mean when you say it's stickered?
Stickered uninhabitable.
Like, there's a sticker on the door?
Yeah.
And you say they cut the wires, they cut like the service entry cables?
He cut all wires going inside the house everywhere. That's how the property sits today. And that will be it for tonight.
Thank you, Bo. Commissioners, you've heard the presentation concerning the blighted properties to be requested to go to council. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion to approve all three of those property be recommended to council for blight. It's been second. Any comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, commissioners. The next item on our agenda, pardon me. The next item on our agenda is a sketch plan. Crystal Window and Door Systems LTD, 31-10 Whitestone Expressway Service Road, Flushing, New York, is requesting sketch plan approval to construct a window manufacturing facility on the property located at 1001 Veterans Highway, Bristol, tax parcels number -05-027-102-001. in an R-3 residential zone district. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Chelsea Crawford-Jack, and I'm an attorney with Begley, Carlin, and Mandio.
So I'm just, the hearing aids might not be working too good. Could you slow down with your name, please?
My name is Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Crawford-Jack.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Is the green on the microphone?
Oh, it's not. Oh, there
it
we
is.
go.
It's only
Now we're
for
hot.
People that are watching. on
So it's
TV.
not the
Thank
hearing
you.
aid, okay.
Yes, thank you. I'm Chelsea from Begley, Carlin, and Mandio, here tonight on behalf of Crystal Windows and Doors. I'm joined this evening, as you indicated, by way of introduction, the tax parcel number. I'm joined this evening by Alexander Zhang, who is from Crystal Windows. He's the property manager. Kyle Ferrier, who is from 142 Design Group, Director of Architecture, and Jeff Licht, NAI Mertz, who is the Executive Vice President and Managing Director of that company. So tonight is we'll call it a sketch of the sketch. So we have submitted 2 sketch plans this evening for your review, and really this is our hope and wish to gather as much feedback from you about the direction with which we want to go. Just to give you a little bit of a timeline of where Crystal Windows is for the site of the past FDR Middle School. I'm going to jump ahead actually and go to the timeline. So the agreement of sale was executed in April of 2024. It was approved by the court as is required in October of 2024. And then kind of the theme of this whole project is that Crystal Windows is very committed as the equitable owners to being great neighbors and to having feedback direct where it is that they go and the decisions that they make moving forward with this particular facility. So just a little bit about Crystal Windows and Doors. It was established in 1990. It's grown to be one of the largest window manufacturers in North America. It staffs 800 people in 5 plants throughout the country, and they're located in Pennsylvania, Illinois, California, and Missouri. And ultimately, hoping to build here in Bristol. So just to, I'm going to go back and pause for a minute. So we met with the neighbors in April, and at that point, we had 3 different sketches. Many of the managing individuals from Crystal were present. And we invited all of the property neighbors that abut that property to say, hey, here's who we are, here's what we want to do. What do you guys think of this? And we got really good feedback. We got, it was a lively discussion, and I looked to the members of the audience who were present that night. And we then determined that because of that, we submitted to you 2 sketches, and that was from the feedback of the neighbors of the property. So this evening, we have 2 separate sketches. This first one, as you can see, I'm just going to give a very general.
So, Chelsea, so if I can interrupt just for a
Sure,
second.
please.
I'm curious. You said all the neighbors were invited to this. Do you have an idea about how many people responded to that?
50, 60 people.
Yeah, something in the vicinity of 50 to 60, yes. And
Full house here today.
I think that we had invited close to 80.
that's
So it was very well attended. Crystal provided some refreshments, and it was really meant to be an informal introduction of, hey, we're hoping to be your new neighbors.
Thank you.
And at that time, I should state that I passed around a pad to say, please give me your email address. We'll keep you apprised of things as we make decisions. Again, really wanting to include them in the decisions moving forward. And so with that, we are presenting to you 2 sketches this evening. The first one is what you see on the screen, 425,000 approximately square feet. And I'm going to just jump down to the rendering. Oops, sorry, go the other way here. There you go. There's a rendering of that as it's oriented to.
So Chelsea, now I'm going to ask you, by any chance you have a pointer?
Right on the tip here. Let's see.
This way our viewing audience can see what you're talking about.
Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate you. There we go. All right. So there we go. We have Veterans Highway. This is the building. It's a little bit, I say, larger in relation to what I'm going to show you as the next sketch plan. I'll be jumping back and forth. And then this is the sketch 2, where if you notice right here, we have pad-ready retail space that's really separate from the size and obviously the rectangular shape as opposed to the square shape. Those are the 2 biggest differences. I'm going to ask that Kyle come on up, Alex come on up, in the event that there are questions from the board, more specific. So Alex can answer any of the, we'll call it Crystal Windows sort of institutional knowledge, and then we have our architect for the project who can answer more of the design questions. And then here's the rendering for sketch 2 right there. So again, this is where that big major difference is really that the commercial pad sites would be located here parallel to Veterans Highway. Obviously, the building's much smaller, and the parking for it will be sandwiched in between the commercial pad sites and the proposed building. So those are the 2 very, we'll call sketch of sketches. Certainly want to hear what obviously community members have to say about it, what the board has to say about it. And generally speaking, I don't know if there's a whole lot more than that, other than to say a couple of the pieces that make this a little bit different than just another neighbor coming in, and that's this. So in terms of bringing Crystal generally to Bristol Township, we explained to the neighbors that this hopes to bring hundreds and hundreds of jobs to Bristol Township. depending on, again, how big the size of the building is. Obviously, the bigger, more jobs to bring into Bristol Township, but good jobs. One of the questions that were asked was, what does the pay look like? And candidly, I turned and said, I guess some minimum wage. And Alex, I believe it was, said, all ranges. We're looking for managers, supervisors, varying degrees of education, things like that. So this is a really, we expect there to be a lot of opportunity. One of the things that was discussed is that this was a community area, as it was a middle school. What the neighbors shared was that they wanted to see something that tipped its hat to the partnership with the community. So they said, how about a dog park? How about a walking trail that surrounds that property for the neighbors to use? And Crystal was extremely open to those ideas. Again, love to hear your feedback on that, but ways that the community can feel like this is partly theirs as well. We talked a lot about how what was there. You think about the buses, the amount of people that worked there, the students that were brought in, the type of traffic that the neighbors saw. What Crystal has sought to compare to, if you juxtapose the two situations, the travel and the amount of people coming in and out would be pretty similar, but it's not going to be confined to that rush hour period of between 7 and 9:30 a.m. and 3 and 5 p.m. This would be something that the neighbors could expect to see broken up across the day. So likely less of an annoyance, hopefully, during that rush hour period. Again, we talk about how all of the decisions moving forward should include all of the stakeholders, you, the neighbors, the people that this manufacturing facility is going to affect. And then finally, as indicated in the beginning, Crystal Windows is a company that has proven, is a business that has proven success, that they have lots of jobs, they have lots of stability, they talked about pensions, they talked about the things that they offer to their employees that they would love to offer, to be able to offer to Bristol Township. So with that, I'm going to ask Alex, I'll ask Kyle, if you wouldn't mind coming up with me. As the questions become more detailed, I may be turning to you. But with that, I'm providing here on the screen for anyone at home who might be looking. Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to share this, but that just contains Alex's contact information. Happy to leave that up there. But I open it up to questions to the board or to the individuals who decided to come tonight. And I will say this, if any of the individuals are not on the listserv of updates for Crystal Windows, catch me before you leave. I'm happy to include you.
Okay, so I will let you know that I do have a process for people speaking. So
I'll
first,
follow
we'll go
yours.
with the commissioners to see if they have any questions, comments, or anything. And then I will recognize people from the audience, and they can step up to the podium, identify themselves, so we can put it on record who spoke.
Thank you,
and
that sounds
what their
good.
questions were. So commissioners, you've seen the presentation for the sketch plan 1 and 2. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I'll make a comment through the chair.
Kathy?
I think both sketch plans looked really welcoming to that site. And the fact that Crystal would be coming in with the job opportunities is also a win-win. And so the neighbors, I think we as a commission will be really interested in hearing what the neighbors have to say. But in looking at this, it seems like either one would be good. Obviously, one question with the retail pad sites, any thoughts to what type of retail business would be there, or none at this stage?
Alex, why don't you come on up to the microphone so that people at home.
Not at this stage, not at this moment. So what we think is we will work with the local community and also with the,
So,
yes,
not to be rude, but if you identify yourself for the record,
yes, sir.
please.
Yes, yeah, my name is Alexander Zhang. I am the property manager of Crystal Window and Door Systems.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then, to answer your question, like we don't really have specific plans for the stores for those like commercial paths, but we are willing to work with the local residents and also the town to be able to welcome the interested to be able to receive comments, recommendations, and also to be frankly, Crystal Window, we are interested in doing this management for this future area, for the commercial pad, or we are also willing to sell this commercial pad to whoever a great, like a commercial developer. And so like either way is welcome by the local community and also by the township. Yeah, because we do fabrications, we are not really doing investment / development for like a commercial stuff. So we want to be able to focusing on what we're planning for. So yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? I was kind of curious that you have two presentations. Obviously, there was a reason for why you did that, and by the way, I have to commend you for the due diligence of working with the community to find out what the feel is and what people think about what you're going to do. In this township, that means everything. You know, our residents have to be satisfied with what's coming in around their houses. So I want to congratulate you on that due diligence.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as Kathy said, I'm just kind of curious, and I see we have a few residents here, I believe, that would like to speak. Is that true? Do we have anybody who would like to speak? Okay, so we'll take the first, as I seen the hands. 1, 2, you're number 2, you're number 3. Okay, so if you would come to the podium, please identify yourself for the record.
Christopher Heim, 910 Arthur Avenue.
Thank you, Christopher.
So at the preliminary meeting where Crystal Windows invited the residents, right? You know, I wasn't totally opposed to the project overall. I thought overall I was the voice of reason at times and helped to de-escalate at times. But I do feel that there's some misrepresentation happening here tonight. For one, we all received notice well in advance of that meeting, and this room was full. And there was a ton of controversy. It wasn't cut and dry. And for this meeting, we were told about it through email by Mrs. Crockett yesterday. And had we received proper notice, I promise you this room would be full and steeped in controversy. That being said, I also think that there's some, and again, I'm still not totally opposed to this project. Something has to be built there. If you want to live in a country that builds things, you have to give them space to build things, right? But I still think that there's more misrepresentation, and I'd like to try to get to the bottom of some of that. So they keep saying that they want community input to be considered, and we all came here, but yet the drawings didn't change at all. So initially, there were 3 drawings. There were these 2, and then there was another drawing with back where I believe the stormwater management is, the retention basin. There was a rows of.
Would you like to use her pointer so that our viewing audience needs to see what we're talking about?
Right. Do I have to hold the button?
Yeah, just while you want to.
Okay, so right back there. Sorry, right back. I can't do both.
It'll pick up.
Yeah, so right here where the retention basin is, my home is like right around there. Right, so those were actually rows of homes. And I believe that was somewhat of a tactic because nobody wants that. You know that increased population density does not ensure domestic tranquility, right? It's just the way that it is. Everyone agrees with that. I think it was if you don't want the high density housing, you'll build the factory sort of thing. So that was put outright, right? So that's the only input. They got rid of that drawing. But as far as these drawings, they haven't changed whatsoever. And so I just had a few questions, if I can ask them, or I'll just ask them aloud.
You can ask the commissioners.
Sure.
And then we'll get them to respond to your questions.
Sure. So then the other thing was about the housing developments, because again, this goes, I think, to the misrepresentation of the Crystal Windows as a company, is that when they say they're making good paying jobs and things like that, when we went against the housing, Ms. Crockett made an offhand comment about, oh, well, it was just an idea to house the workers. The owner wanted to house the workers there. I've had a lot of jobs. nobody had to house me on site. So I'm just wondering what kind of company, what kind of workers that is? It doesn't, I can't understand any logical chain about why you have to build on-site housing, on-site high-density housing for your workers. That I don't understand.
Well, before you go any further, if you don't mind me making a comment,
Yes, sir.
because,
No, go ahead, John, keep going.
because we're going by what's being presented to us, not what yous were all involved in whenever all that came about, okay? And, you know, personal opinions and all that other kind of stuff doesn't work in these kind of meetings. You know, whatever has been presented to us, if you have comments or questions about those, that's what we will entertain.
Right, sir, and I agree, and that's why, so you commended them on their due diligence,
Yes.
which was something you derived from their misrepresentation of who they are as a company. So that's why I'm attesting to that is all.
Okay.
And same thing with I'm sorry, I can't see, on the end, you also said that you gave them, right, you gave them accolades for being involved in the community, but I think that's a misrepresentation, and so I think that that is applicable. So,
So
Can
what
I
it-
just mention that as a result of your meeting where you expressed the displeasure with the plan number 3, it's not here tonight?
that's correct.
I mean, that's
So-
a good thing though, right? That's what I'm taking when they say due diligence, it was holding meetings. I mean, I've been here for like 8 years and I really haven't seen too many people with such involvement with the community.
Right.
That's why I'm just, I want to hear exactly what you're saying, or
Right.
everything that you're trying to say.
Right,
But
and I agree.
I take it as there's.
It
not
does
three.
seem that way on the surface, but I don't think that that's applicable, and I have more information here. Number one, when we first received the letter of the intent of sale, I believe it was from the township, and it did include, it said that it was being sold to Crystal Windows, and they were going to build a community park, and they were going to build a walking trail, and they were going to build all these things, but none of these drawings contain that. And then at that meeting, we brought it up, and it still was not addressed. The drawings didn't change. Also, they're only sharing these planned views. They're not sharing any elevation views. I asked at that meeting, how tall would the building be? Because when I look out my back window, if the building's 40 feet tall and it's 800 and some feet wide, I'm gonna see nothing but a solid gray wall. It's gonna be like being inside a prison, standing in my kitchen.
I understand your concern for the dimensions, but this is just step A. This is just a sketch plan. Once we get to
Right.
land development, then specifics would come out.
And that's when those details will come up.
Right, so then what exactly is being decided? Excuse my ignorance, but I mean this sincerely. I don't know the difference maybe between planning and
This,
zoning.
it's just for them to bring their ideas to us, just a sketch. This is what we're thinking about doing. We don't have to recommend anything to council or not recommend anything. This is just, hi, welcome, let's see what you got. Great, might see in the future, and we'll see what you have for the
Okay,
moment.
and then what is the steps after this for such a
Well,
project?
after their sketch plan, and they get out of whatever they can get out of this meeting, I'm sure they're gonna go back and revisit what they're doing and what their plans are, because they're gonna have to have their act together when they actually come in front of us, when they have something that they actually wanna do. And that's when you get into the next phase of, okay, this is what you wanna do, and then we look at all the ordinances, et cetera, with the township, and what it is they have to do. And Kurt, if there's anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, so the process toward approvals and entitlements for this particular project, if either of these were to go forward, would require it to go through land development, and that's a process. It requires township approvals, it requires outside agency approvals, water, sewer, stormwater management, NPDES permitting. And in addition to that, it requires some type of zoning change or zoning variances that the site would have to be rezoned to allow this type of use or uses, depending on whether the retail component is incorporated into the plan to which they intend to pursue. That process involves at least one more visit to the Planning Commission, at least one visit to the Township Council. Could be
Possibly
two to
the-
planning commission, could be
possibly
two
the
to,
zoning hearing board again for any kind of variances.
Okay, so.
and
what-
usually that's a more than a year-long
Right.
process for a
Right,
project this
right, I
size.
understand. So what point in that process is the community's opportunity to come and voice specific concerns about specific designs, dimensions, setbacks, et cetera?
I think that time for that is now. You want to try to get some of these concerns out
Well,
there.
I'm
take
trying to do that, and I feel like I'm being told that it's,
I don't think it's anyone's intention to not encourage you to express the opinions. I think we're all listening.
but it's, right, but
them.
also we don't have setbacks. There's no drawings with dimensions of setbacks. There's no elevation. I don't know how tall the building's going to be. I don't know what color the building's going to be. I don't know about the lighting. I don't know about the paved surface. I don't know about fencing, so I can't come here and argue about specifics or discuss specifics if I don't have them. So where's the recourse for the community? Because I'm telling you, if we had received proper notice, this room would be full.
Well,
And
the recourse for the community is when they do put their plans together. Again, we're just listening to what they're presenting. We're not recommending they do anything. We're just asking some questions about, okay, you presented a couple of plans to your neighbors and, you know, what was their feedback? And that's actually kind of what we're kind of going through here a little bit. But ultimately, when they come up with something, they say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Because now it moves from a sketch plan, where it's just trying to figure out, to now this is what we want to do. Once they do that, that will also be advertised. And that will also come in front of this planning commission. And then that's when your audience comes in and has more questions and comments. And we listen to all of that. As I
Okay.
said initially, and I did appreciate their due diligence in talking with the neighbors, and they said they sent out 80-some emails and had about 50-some people in attendance. That tells me the neighbors are paying attention to what's going on. Now, when that gets advertised, that it's coming back in front of this planning commission, and it may have to go back in front of the zoning hearing board again before it comes to us, depending on what they put together.
Okay.
But wherever it goes, and by the way, that is an advertised meeting, and that's, I forget when they do that, the first Monday of the month, or?
Yeah, they usually do zoning first, then.
Right, and then they come in after the zoning, if they get the variances that they're looking for, or whatever they get, they have to adapt to that, and then they come back with their plans in front of us. Then we'll review what it is they have for their plans. And that's, again, when the audience hopefully is crowded, and the questions will all be here, and we can get a better idea of how this is being received, and what the comments, what the concerns, and what the considerations are. That's how
Okay.
that normally works.
Okay, I completely understand that. Is there a notification requirement for them, for the immediate residents in the area, so that, because although you said this isn't the time and place for it, people would have showed up?
Okay.
Had they
I
known.
don't know,
So the zoning hearing board is the only statutory requirement, the only process in the state where you have to notify adjoining residents. Frankly, had there not been a meeting that was held voluntarily, then even for tonight's meeting, there's not a formal notification. It's advertised on the website that this property's on the agenda for this evening's meeting, but that's usually not something people would be aware of. So for what that's worth, just note that there's been a voluntary effort to share more
Right.
public involvement than what would customarily otherwise be required. But one thing I wanted to mention, there's, if I had to predict, I would not think this project would go to the zoning hearing board. I think they would more likely pursue a zoning amendment, if I'm not mistaken. And that just stays with planning commission and council. But just some of the general things that you brought up, like when is the time? I think it's never too soon. Like share your feedback. You shared about concerns about lines of sight, concerns about lighting, stormwater, traffic, all those things. Like now's the time to have these discussions. I can say in general terms, you know, obviously it's a proposed manufacturing facility, so it's not going to be a 15-foot high building. It's probably going to be 30, 40, maybe taller, I don't know.
Be 60.
Well, I mean, that,
plenty of these.
now they're getting a little high, and that's when, you know, the radar screen starts flashing a little bit, but we will certainly know that answer as they come in with a proposed zoning amendment, how high they want to pursue the building height. And that's discretion that the planning commission and the council can help kind of throttle, if you will.
And I will tell you, we have had applicants in front of us with basically the same kind of concerns and issues. And again, we pay a lot of attention to that, and we've seen where the people had to make adjustments to, in order for them to be able to comply with what they need to do. And the residents are somewhat satisfied that there was some sort of a compromise.
Right. And so for the record, I do want to say that I'm not completely opposed to the project, but just
We're glad
like
to
you
hear
said,
that.
compromise, right?
Correct.
So again, you know, I think a lot of us appreciate them trying, at least looking at making look like they're trying. I just want to make sure that the representation they're putting forth, they're held to, you know,
Yeah,
and that's all.
You know, just speaking again in generalities, real quick. I mean, you know, something like this, it's a unique property, surrounded by, you know, up against Veterans Highway, but also surrounded by residential homes. It was a school site, right? So something has to go in there. I think you've been very fair in everything you've mentioned tonight. Very fair commenting, very reasonable commenting. You know, I think that you could offer opinions like you'd rather the building be further away from your property versus closer, you know, and that's maybe the standalone building provides, I would think. I don't have the other sketch plan for comparison, but your site, your property, you're more than, I would say, 300 feet away from the building. That's a pretty good distance.
Potentially, that's the thing.
Scale. Well, that perspective shows a different angle, but
I guess the idea is that
looking
we
at the
don't really
two-dimensional
know, 'cause
plan.
we don't have the details. And
Oh,
that's,
and just, sir, just keep in mind, this is the first time we're laying
Right.
eyes on this.
right.
You know, but then there's a lot of positivity with the retail being out front too. You know, that could help
I don't really buy stuff.
generate, well, that could generate redevelopment of the retail that's front and center on Veterans Highway too.
Yeah, we got nothing but Dookie up there, right?
That's something when we talked initially, when the township was first approached with a plan from Crystal, you know, there's an opportunity to try to promote that redevelopment. And just kind of going back in history, prior to my involvement, prior to this sitting council's involvement and my time with the Planning Commission, this road, this corridor was zoned with an intended target to try to build more retail, build more commercial, kind of rejuvenate that business corridor there. And it hasn't really happened for a number of different reasons. Route 13, also, same kind of thing. You know, with the 95 Turnpike interchange, what definitely happened was a real high demand for warehousing, logistics centers, you know, cold storage, you know, could go on and on with the amount of projects that we've processed through the township recently. But so I think that the retail component of it is most closely aligned with what the planners back then wanted to see, for what that's worth. You know, and then obviously the 30 acres here, you know, you have to build something. Is homes really the highest and best use for the township at large? Because keep in mind too, you know, we have tens of thousands of residents in Bristol Township. It's a very, very large municipality. The decision makers have a tough job, the council, the elected officials, tough job of, in their minds, doing what's best for the overall township. May not be best for the individual neighbor, but they're very amenable to hearing feedback, and they want to hear things that when they come in with an actual zoning amendment that, and that's our job too, is to try to help, you know, protect you. You don't want to, you know, have lights shining through your bedroom windows all night long. You know, so our job and what our ordinances include are requirements like no spillover of more than, you know, 0.2 foot candles at a property line. And, you know, no, we have a dark sky requirement that all light fixtures have to be dark sky compliant, meaning you're not just going to see, it's not going to look like you're next to a high school football field all lit up at night and the sky glows white.
Right.
So those are types of things to help kind of keep in mind that your worst-case scenario is probably not what you'll get. It may not be the perfect solution to what you ultimately want, but this feedback's good. Stay involved, come to the other meetings. These guys are available. We know they are because they've already offered emails, and you can reply back to Chelsea, and she'll pass it on to the design team and all. So I just wanted to kind of add some of that background for what that's worth.
Thank you, Kurt. I appreciate all that.
If I could, I was just going to say through the chair, so.
Go ahead, Kath.
Going on with what the engineer said, and to address you, sir. So I too lived very close to a school in Bristol Township that was left abandoned, and then there came a plan to make it housing. And I, along with the other residents, were against that. We wanted open space, right? But we knew that that wasn't the right thing for the township on a whole. So the developer's plan was one thing, and the council was very open. They listened to the residents, and what was going to be like a 3-story high apartment building came down to 2 stories, and what was not going to have sidewalks around the perimeter ended up having sidewalks. So we raised our hands as the residents and said, look, it might not be what we want, but we know it's the right thing for the township, but could you work with us, Mr. And Mrs. Developer, on these few things? And the council really helped make that happen, and they did do that. And we ended up with a really, really nice development in there. But they did listen to us as the residents. So just passing that on, that the council will listen to what the residents have to say.
Right, understood. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Do we have another, did you want to respond?
Just very briefly, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do want to just say real quick, Chris, I'm sorry, tell me your last name.
Okay, so,
Heim.
pardon me, address the,
I just wanted to make sure I had his last name correct.
Okay.
Mr. Heim accurately reflected a lot of the feelings that were conveyed that evening when we invited the neighbors. He was somebody who was cooling the room when things were getting really heated. I just wanted to point out that everything that has occurred so far by way of involving the neighbors was purely voluntary, was entirely Crystal saying we want to include them. And as Mr. Harkins indicated, we pulled that sketch because of the opposition, the really strong opposition. And so I would feel the same way if something were going up right next to my house, that I felt protective of it, that I wanted to be involved. And we get that, and that's why we're going to continue to keep reaching out, letting them know when things occur. This particular meeting was meant to be the same as the neighbor meeting, just, hey, let us know what you think, after we had received feedback already, so nothing definitive. And the last thing I'll just say is that we're trying to prove it, and one of the things that's happened over the last 2 months was that I received an email about the property as it sits right now. Hey, it doesn't look real good, there's trash, landscaping. Immediately reached out to Crystal, who responded, and we are in discussions with how can we show the neighbors. It's not our property yet, we don't have possession of it, but we're working with the school district to figure something out so that we can show the neighbors, hey, we hear you, we understand this is what you look at every day, we respect that, and we want to demonstrate that we're going to essentially prove we're going to be good neighbors. So I just wanted to say that real quick.
thank you very much.
Sure.
Do I have any other, you're the second speaker, please.
Good evening, Mike Palestini, Latches Lane.
Good evening.
I guess my first question is, what is Crystal looking to get out of tonight?
Well, the way it comes to what I'm sure she's probably looking for is they're just doing a presentation of 2 sketches that they put together of something they have in their mind that they think might work. They present it to us because normally we don't do anything with sketch plans because there's nothing we vote on. There's nothing we make opinions about. There's nothing that we recommend. So we listen because they just want to see here's what we've come up with so far. Do you think it's going to fit in this township? All right, and then we listen to what they have, and then, you know, if there's a comment that we make, like saying, well, you know, that's not a bad idea considering what you have there, or something to that effect, you know, that's basically all that comes out of this meeting.
So it sounds like the last meeting, there were 3 sketches that were shown, and now we're down to 2. Is that safe to say?
I understand that.
Okay. And this gentleman stole most of my thunder, so, but I will reiterate that, yeah, I agree 100% what he said about, had there been more notice sooner, that there would be a lot more people in this room.
Okay.
And number 2, being a licensed engineer myself, I know how I'm intimately knowledgeable how this process goes. And like Kurt, like you just said, now is the time, if we have any say, now is the time for us to have any impact on you know, how this development goes, right? So I think things I would encourage Crystal to either email us or definitely by the next meeting, have ready traffic studies, stormwater management plans, definitely lines of sight, those type of details. We kind of need them now, right? I mean, to have any say in how it's going to impact us, right? I mean, this is my backyard, you know what I mean? So I would just really encourage them to say. Then the other thing that I noted tonight that was different, I'm sorry?
I would like to touch on that just for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
I remember having a meeting in my many years on this planning commission. There was a development that was going to take place up on Oxford Valley Road. And this room was packed, which we were glad to see, because that shows the interest.
Sure.
Okay? And unfortunately, the way people used to come into these meetings is just as you did initially. When they started talking, you were talking to the person at the podium. We put a stop to that. And I set the ground rules. And the ground rules are everybody will have an opportunity to speak, but they'll speak to this commission, and everybody will have a chance to answer questions, but it all comes through this commission. And guess what? We weren't in play for 5 minutes when the applicant was saying something, and a lady sitting in the chair where this gentleman is right now started on him, and I stopped. I says, excuse me, I did say how we operate in here. She says, okay. He started talking, she did it again. I stopped the meeting, and we all just sat here and looked at her for about 5 minutes. Very quiet in this room. She got the message. Let's just do it the way we got to do it. So I appreciated when you first said something to her when you asked her question, and I went, okay, let's see where this is going to go. So I do appreciate, and you, obviously, you understand how these things work, understanding your background, especially if you're are you also out of Local 690?
No,
Okay.
I'm a design engineer.
I'm from organized labor. I'm very familiar with how meetings run, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So normally when they come in front of us with their plans, that's when the room is full, and that's when them questions come out. The fact that Kurt said this is a good time, it is. It's always a good time. The best thing to do is plant the seed
And
nurture
the
it.
earlier, the cheaper it is to make those
Right,
changes.
and nurture it, and it'll grow the way you want it to grow.
Right.
So
So the other point I want to make was, and Chelsea touched on it, one of the selling points for me, anyway, was the having a recreational area part of this development. I don't see that here. I'm glad it was noted, but I don't see it yet, so I don't know what that looks like. So I would encourage Crystal to, again, the next meeting, show us a little more details of what that would look like.
and I'm sure they're listening to you.
Yep. And then lastly, what I heard tonight was different. I think what I heard was the retail space may get sold, so that may be a separate owner? Is that right? Did I hear that correctly?
I know he made that comment, but I don't know that exactly.
Ownership of,
Oh, there we go. Yeah, all right. So yeah, what I think I heard tonight was this retail space may not be, I guess, owned by Crystal, it would be owned by somebody else, right?
I don't know.
yeah, that's something that we don't really have a lot of ability to dictate.
Okay, but that's a possible reality, correct?
It's certainly a possibility.
All right, and just for record, My priority's right here. All right. I think that covers everything. Did you have anything? No? Okay. Yeah, so like I said, the big selling point for me was the recreational area. Again, right now, that's how it is now, right? I mean, everybody, it's a big field, it's nice, and everybody uses it, and we're gonna lose something, right? And again, I think, I probably speak for everybody, the biggest concern we all have, I think, is how it's gonna affect the property value, you know?
And thank you for your presentation, sir. And you were number 3.
Hello, I'm Ken Velez.
Good evening.
Kathy, Dana, John, Chris, I just want to let you guys know you're doing a great job.
Well, thank
I
you.
noticed the changes in Bristol. They're slow, but they're getting there. And I'm a little bit worried about this. I'm excited about it because it's going to bring a lot of jobs. It's going to bring a lot of money into Bristol. That's what I want. Where's that pointer at? But I've been in the trucking industry for 25 years, and I've owned a transportation company for 20 years of large trucks. The same trucks that are parked against his house and his house. Now, I believe you guys could change this up a little bit. How's this work, Chelsea? So you see this lane back here with all those trucks? All right. A certain time of the season, that's going to be packed because they're going to have a hot season. And it's not going to be all year, but a few different times of the year. All right? So that last lane during the winter with the trucks running is going to drive these people crazy. Now, I'm saying this because I live right here, and I wasn't invited to any of these meetings, so I feel a little offended. So, now, the front of the building right here, if we were able to take that part and switch everything around, because you know they're going to decorate the front of the building nicely. So the residents behind here, when they turn and they look out their backyards, they're going to see this nice looking building, and they're going to take care of the front of the building because that's where their customers come in. Having the trucks back here against these houses, not only are they going to have to deal with the smell of the diesel, they're going to have to smell of piss because the truck drivers are going to be pissing between the trailers. And during the summer, I don't know if you guys ever stopped at a truck stop, but I would have to go to all these places and visit them and make deals on diesel for my trucks. They smell. So I'm excited about this, but I think there's a lot of things that you guys, and I'm sure you guys are going to come up with the right stuff because you always do, to make everybody happy. But this could be executed, but a few things have to change. I don't believe it's necessary for them to build us a park. But if you want to donate money, there's a park right here.
Would you speak into the microphone and not to the
All right.
applicant?
So
Thank
if you wanted to donate money to Bristol so we could finish this park right here, that would be a beautiful thing. Building a park right here is only going to interfere with your business. And you're going to have people walking through there, drug addicts, and you don't want that. This site right here, this gentleman said he's not sure if you guys bought this property, but if you did, maybe you could pull everything forward instead of everything back. Another thing, with what's that called with the land for the rain? Stormwater water management. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Arthur Avenue. Arthur Avenue floods. Not 6 inches, you're talking about 3 feet, all right? We were riding our kayaks out there, all right? So back here we have FedEx. FedEx is growing their property. It's less places for rainwater to go, So you got less rainwater here, a whole bunch of rainwater, can't go anywhere anymore over here, but I'm sure you guys could solve that. Like I said, you guys doing an awesome job. And I believe he's listening too about switching this around. Like I said, you make this beautiful up front, and I'm sure you will. These people here will not say a thing. And yeah, your employees are gonna have to drive just a little bit further, and you see those trucks, you put them on this side.
And I hate to be redundant,
You want me to talk into the mic?
and to us, and
Yeah.
not to the applicant.
All right, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So you guys let them know about the ideas that I have. I think they're great ideas. We'll all get what we want, you know, tons of jobs, lots of money coming in here, and hopefully with all these extra jobs, these people could clean up their businesses here, maybe nice storefronts, because the money will be coming in now, and this is going to be a beautiful area. But we got to do it the right way. And we're expecting you guys. You've already been, like I said, doing a great job, just to fine tune it. Because it's already here, and it's going to be here. We just need you guys to fine tune it.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussions from the audience? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Tony Salviti, I'm 907 Langs Avenue.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I like Crystal. It's a classic example of immigrants coming to this country and actually working. They assimilated into society, they worked, they started a business, okay? So I'm a fan of this, if done properly. The one thing, I'm glad that they did away with the housing proposal because, you know, going by the first meeting, it was just a disaster. It was a train wreck, and I understand why. That being said, I'm not really a fan of the commercial pad sites because there's no optics. You're off the highway, right? There's nothing for these people to see. Those businesses right there, they kind of, how can I say it delicately? They don't exactly draw the right element right now, as far as I'm concerned, okay? And now you're gonna build more back there. It's like, I don't see it happening and being successful. So what's gonna happen then, right? You're gonna have more vacant buildings. So I'm kind of a fan of, you know, the other proposal, okay, where they're done away with, and you know, it's an expanded manufacturing site, okay? But I like the prop or the idea of changing the trucking to the front. I do like that because Arthur Avenue, I mean, my street is parallel to Arthur. It's right, you know, one street over. But you know, I went to FDR, okay? So I mean, I know the school, okay? But yeah, I think it would be much more agreeable for those residents if you kind of change things around. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure the logistics, but it doesn't seem that big of a deal. But yeah, but I am a fan of Crystal.
And again, I thank you for your comment, and I see people are usually saying the same things in certain respects, and I'm sure the applicants are listening to what's being said here. Are there any other comments or questions from the audience, from the commissioners?
Actually, the trucking was brought up. Can you explain the trucking, like what trucks there are? Because I was under the understanding there wasn't going to be a lot of like tractor trailers.
Do you mean, just to clarify, do you mean currently, right now, you're saying the plan, what type of trucking and?
What type of trucking the company actually utilizes?
I'm gonna turn over to Alex.
So we do utilize, seldom we use 53-foot trailers. We use, so far for the company's operation, we do have a logistics center in Benton, PA. So that would be our major logistic area. For this one specifically, because it's designed for fabrications, I would say like most of the part will be for fabrication use. However, those fabricated windows, we need a little bit storage and also, of course, logistics to ship them out, to get them distributed, whether back to our logistics center or to the customers. So the comments I can make right now is this will be major for fabrications and will be minor logistic just for the bring stuff back to or logistics standards in Benton Township, PA, and also to our customers. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Could I just make two brief comments?
Absolutely.
Crystal Window, is committed to another neighbor meeting when we have one plan. So again, that, the requirements of moving through the whole process, through land development, through zoning, we're gonna comply with all of those, and that will require certain notifications to the various neighbors. Mr. Velez, I'm gonna get your email so that I can include you on that, knowing that you're in that back corner over there. But the Crystal is committed to doing the same thing that we did before, but when we have one plan that's more finite, as well as the recreational piece. Crystal's committed to doing something, whether that's the dog park or the trail, or maybe even looking into, as Mr. Velez said, putting it somewhere else that makes a little bit more sense. This is a recorded process. This planning commission is recorded. It is nobody's intention to slide this through without anybody having the opportunity to be heard, and I want to just make that very, very clear. The other thing I was going to say was that as we go through the process, whatever it is, whether it is by required notification or something voluntary, I guess I'm being redundant now. We want to make sure that everybody understands that this is something we want feedback to direct moving forward. That's all.
Thank you.
Everybody, and I just want to make one comment that we are at the very beginning stage of the development. So we want to make sure, first I want to thank you everybody for your comments. I will make sure your comments will be recorded. And also, we will have internal discussions afterwards, so that in the future, we will come back with one certain plan. And then, I will also add, what Chelsea mentioned, we'll make sure, we will arrange another meeting to discuss with the neighbors to make sure, when we come up with this one specific plan, we will add this concept with this park. Or I really like the idea of, you mentioned about the other park that is unfinished. So, we will make sure we have conversations with the township on whether, there may be chances on either way. And also, again, since we are in a preliminary process of this development, for some, stormwaters, for the traffic design, for the, whether the dock is facing which ways, we will make sure we follow with all ordinance and codes to make sure what we design for get approved by every single step, by the town, by with the proper process. And also, again, we want to make sure all the residents get involved. So when there's the next meeting, we will do what we have done before to be able to distribute letters to your mailboxes before, in a certain advance of time, so that everybody will be notified. And also, you have time to decide whether you want to show or not. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm glad that you just touched on the letters in the mailbox, because I'm a senior, and I, believe it or not, and I oversee 4 of 13 senior centers in Bucks County. And a lot of us seniors are not techie smart. We don't know computers, so it's nice when you get a letter in the mail.
Make sure we do so.
We intend to mail it.
Are there any other comments or questions?
I do, through the chair, I have one question. So I understand that that's a fabrication site, manufacturing, but is any of the product, the finished window, is it available to purchase there? You know, sometimes these manufacturing sites, they have a contractor can purchase the finished product. Is that going to happen or no?
So so far we haven't decided yet whether we have what we call is a counter sale. So we will put in place a small showroom in
Right.
the area. And also what we call, we put a counter cell front desk, so that will be couple front desks and also counter cells available to be able to sell the product to the local residents and also the vendor. This is the way that we use for our New York main plant and also our Riverside, California facility. We will take into consideration on whether if we are able to do the same here in Bristol. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments or part of a presentation you would like to make?
That's all we have tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for
you,
coming here
guys.
and doing your presentation. I want to thank everybody who showed up and shared their comments. And again, I believe the applicants were listening, and we'll see where this goes.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Howard, you said you are
The next,
property manager?
the next item we have on our agenda,
You're not like with Crystal, you. I am.
Excuse me.
excuse, we have to get to the next, thank you, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next item on our agenda is land development. It is for FedEx, Inc., 2200 Forward Drive, Harrison, Arizona, is requesting preliminary and final land development approval for facility expansion on the property located at 2509 Bristol Pike, Croydon, tax parcel number 05-058-001-002 in an M-1 light manufacturing zone district. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Sean Gallagher with the law firm of Buchanan, Ingersoll & Rooney, and represent the applicant, FedEx. So this is, as you noted, this is an expansion project. This is an existing trucking terminal. We were previously before the zoning hearing board, and I can't recall if we had 6 or 7 variances, but they were all to expand the facility itself, but also the parking area. It has become a safety hazard as we presented substantial evidence to that effect. So this is just to be able to have the trucks get around easier and be safer. And the zoning hearing board did approve all of our variances, and now we are here seeking land development approval. And I'll let Mr. Brian Conlon from Langen Engineers go over the comment review letters and the waivers that we are requesting. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Brian Conlon with Langen Engineering and Environmental Services, the project engineer on the development.
Good evening, Brian.
Good evening. And I see we're having a little difficulty with the with our presentation here, so I'll wait a second. I'll give you a quick overview.
You just had the picture of the
Did have it up.
In the meantime, do you just want to go through the review letter?
In the meantime, just.
You want me to just walk through?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I'll go to the so the expansion, we are seeking a couple of waivers. I'm just going to walk through the PowerPoint, so let me jump to that. Okay, so the waivers we are requesting as part of the development. So the section 177-14E from your saldo, we're requesting for preliminary and final combined plan submission. Oh, there we go. I'll continue with the waivers. 177-41K, we're requesting a waiver to permit striping in lieu of curbing for separator islands and aisles, and that's in the parking facility. 177-41M, a waiver for
to permit no, less than a 5-foot curb radii in the parking area. 17741O, to request, not to have a 10-foot wide raised landscaping parking island every other row of parking spaces, again in the parking lot. A waiver from 17755L for providing 11, it actually says 11 in the letter, but it's an 11.5-foot wide by 50-foot loading space as compared to a 12-foot wide by 55-foot loading space. And finally, section 17791C3 and 17792C3. This is basically to provide a location of railroads, sanitary sewers, storm drains, water mains, culverts, gas lines, electric and telephone lines, fire hydrants, and other utilities or other significant man-made features on or within 200 feet of the parcel. So they're the waivers requested. There's one additional I'd like to maybe discuss with Kurt that we may or may not need, and that is 17141P. And Kurt, actually from your letter, that is C4, where it talks about 20 parking spaces, no more than 20 parking spaces without the raised landscape island. We do provide that in our employee parking spaces. Actually, this is a good, I'll go to the visual. Do I put it over?
I would just, outside of the parking space, it would be it would present a hazard for the
Right.
trucks.
So the point being that we are complying in the employee spaces, but in the truck yard where all the trucks are, we do not provide those landscaping islands within the 20 feet. So if that waiver is for the loading areas, we would request that as well, if that makes sense. There we go. So real quick, again, this is what I was going to start with. That's the existing facility you see. Does this have a pointer? There we go. The existing facility off of Bristol Pike, there's one access point to the existing FedEx facility. Again, the main activities are to the right of the existing building, and again, the truck yard, as I'll call it, surrounding the facility. And then there's a small employee parking lot to the left side, which is Plan West. This, actually, I wanted to note, is a plan, actually, back in 1994, the expansion, which I'll show in a minute, it was actually contemplated back in 1994. They actually built out of the site. All of this was paved as part of this original proposal. They didn't build it at the time, and as I showed on the existing conditions previously. And here's what we're proposing. Again, you see the existing facility I mentioned here. They're doing a building expansion of, of my notes, a building expansion of approximately 12,921 square feet. To the right there of the existing facility. Again, it's just an extension of the existing facility. New loading dock doors on the top and bottom of that, very similar to the existing facility. And then again, they're expanding their truck yard, and you just see this is all parking for vans and tractor trailers in the rear. And then that area on the west I mentioned earlier, they're expanding their employee parking. Sean may have mentioned the whole goal of this is they're not increasing their employees at all, but it's a mess out there from FedEx's perspective. It's more for operations, safety, efficiency, and things like that. As they're getting more sophisticated, they're redoing their yard. Again, you see these tractors and trailers on the existing underneath to make it better, safer, and then in expanding their parking lot for their employees that they need that they currently don't have.
Okay. Yeah, and just to point out, I mean, we present this at the zoning hearing board. You can see the Google imagery.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry. You can see the Google imagery with all the trucks stacked upon each other. That's actually a very light day. More often than not, there's trailers everywhere stacked upon each other, which makes it extremely difficult. So the additional spaces will allow us to have all of that in those trailers in actual spaces and allow for the trucks to move freely around the yard.
Thank you.
And then last, I'll say we did receive the County Planning Commission, Kurt's review letter, Panoni, right? I believe the traffic review letter, and we don't see any comments that we can't comply with. We did have a call with Kurt and his team a month or so ago, and we think we'll work out all the details.
And everything else in the applications will comply.
Correct.
So you wanted to amend the waiver request to maybe do a partial waiver request of the C4 comment, 17741P?
Yeah, does that sound right?
We'd be amenable to that.
Anybody write that down? Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. Commissioners, you've heard the presentation. Do you have any comments or questions? Bo? Kurt? Any comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
What?
Opposed?
There was no motion made yet. You gotta.
Oh. I
Don't
got
worry.
ahead of myself. I'll entertain a motion.
John, I will make that motion.
Thank you very much.
I'll make a motion for, to recommend to council the land development for FedEx Freight Inc. 2200 Forward Drive, Harrison, Arizona, requesting prelim and final land development approval for facility expansion on the property located at 2509 Bristol Pike, Croydon, tax parcel number 05-058-001-002 in an M1 light manufacturing zone district, along with the 6 waivers requested in the Gilmore and Associates letter dated April 24th, 2025, noting that in section C4, there will be a partial waiver for the loading area. Everything else is a will comply.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second? It's been moved in second. Any comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, folks. Everyone have a good holiday.
Thank you. You as well.
Have a good evening. Having nothing else on our agenda, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.